I'd like to welcome everybody today to our Ike Kaiaulu talk story. As you can see from the PowerPoint on the screen, our point of this talk story series every month is to nurture connective spaces, to really connect our community with our students and faculty at Windward Community College, but also to community itself. So we have students, we have faculty, we have community members that join us from time to time. And these are opportunities to create those pilina, the relationships through engaging with community. So our guest today is Kahiau Wallace, and she is from Kāko'o Ōiwi. And we're very honored to have her here and to share a little bit about what she does there in her community in the hopes that we can connect. One of the biggest questions that I'll probably ask towards the end of today is how can we as Windward Community College or you within your family connect to what Kahiau does on her Aina. So I'd like to introduce Kahiau, and maybe you can share a little bit about what you do there on your Aina.
Okay, aloha nui kākou. I'm Kahiau Wallace. Ooh, let me turn around. Oh, there we go. Okay. Aloha nui kākou. I'm Kahiau Wallace from Kahana, Koʻolaupoko, Oʻahu. And I'm currently the education manager at Kāko'o Ōiwi. So I take care of all education aspects, groups, and Ohana that come down to our farm. And really excited to be here with you folks today. Talk story. We had a meeting here at Paipao Heʻeia, so I'm actually zooming from the fish pond, not the farm. But aloha. Should I share my video, slideshow now? So just kind of an introduction to our space. What we're noticing too is it's better to see pictures and images, yeah, than just talking story. So this is a view of one of our lo'is. We have about 28 in our lower section of our Aina, and then we have about 10 getting ready to plant in our Uka section, but altogether we have about 240 acres of wetland area.
Wow.
And so, yeah, choke Aina.
Yeah.
So just when we think of Kāko'o Ōiwi, I always want to start with the mo'o Aina, yeah, mo'o lalo of our Aina, story of and succession of land. And so we know our ahupuaʻa is Heʻeia. There have been many changes since the mahele. And then in between that, we had a land swap. So just kind of gonna talk about that briefly. This mo'olelo, or this little passage is from Mo'olelo Kahiko no Hawaiʻi, which is published in Kahoku, Hawaii in 1928, that reads, Haumea moved to Paliku. She went to get Olopana's grandson to rear and name him Heʻeia because they had been washed out to sea. So this particular mo'olelo does talk about a big flood in Heʻeia that washed Haumea and Heʻeia out to the ocean. And so we sometimes connect that also as the back of Ha'iku as the ku stones. And then all out here at the sandbar is the hina aspect of this heiau, which we can call Kawahau Kamano or Kane'ohepe. And it said that Heʻeia is made up of two parts, which is Heʻeiauli and Heʻeiakea. Heʻeiauli, the dark Heʻeia, where dark souls leap, and Heʻeiakea, where light souls leap. That could have been something that was introduced during Christianity, what is dark and light. Because for us as Kanaka, we believe that we were born of the darkness. And when we ho'i in the darkness, right? So it's not necessarily good or bad. It's just maybe more of what we know and what we don't know, expanding on that.
Interesting.
During the Mahele, so Mahele of 1848, under Kamehameha Ekolu Kauikeauli, Abner Kuho'oheihe Pahupaki receives many Aina parcels, including the entire Heʻeia ahupuaʻa. Abner Paki has two daughters, Bernice Pawahi Paki and his Hanai daughter, Lydia Loloku Walania Kamakaʻeha Paki, also Lili Uokalani. And when Paki passes, Heʻeia is left to Bernice Pawahi Bishop. And so our Aina was once all under Bishop Estate.
It's your arrow key.
Oh, got it. And then in 1991, there was a land exchange between, okay, thank you, between Bishop Estate and the Hawaii Community Development Authority. So HCDA is a public created entity to establish community development plans, just to malama different spaces for community use. And so currently we have 16 employees. Oh, sorry, 2009. The authority and their ED enter into a long-term lease with our organization, Kāko'o Ōiwi. So we obtain a 38-year lease for 405 acre parcel. And we currently have 16 employees, and we partner with our neighboring organizations to care for Heʻeia. Because one thing we all know is that not 10 people can malama a whole community. It takes the community to take care of the community, right? It takes a village to malama the village. So we are very grateful for all our ohana that come. We have the regulars that come, and always check in. And so we mahalo those spaces, those people. And so this is an aerial view of the Aina we malama. It's right above He'eia Fish Pond. We line Pu'uma Eli Eli, Kahekili Highway, and then these back houses along He'eia. Big Aina. We just sue her. She malamas us. She malamas us. We don't have to malama her.
That's amazing. There's like so much.
I mean, I'm not sure if you guys want to watch this. I threw it in because
it's cute.
Because it's cute. And then Kahiau is my brother. So just,
Oh, that's your brother.
I can watch my brother.
Nitrogen is a very important nutrient.
But it's how we all work together in He'eia.
Gas, ammonia, nitrate, and nitrite. It is cycled by both biological and chemical processes through nitrogen fixation, denitrification, and nitrification. The amount of nitrogen in the fish pond influences the rate of ʻiwi growth as well as decomposition. When meheanu visits moku, it causes the hau to turn yellow because of increasing ammonia concentrations. This increase in nitrogen causes a bloom in the phytoplankton that the baby will eat. The fish are then well taken care of and guarded by meheanu, resulting in private local income. The story of meheanu portrays the nitrogen cycle of He'eia Fish Pond.
That is so cool. I have a 10-year-old son and a 16-year-old daughter at Kamehameha. And I know they're watching these videos because I've seen them. I'm like, hey, I've seen that guy dancing before. That's cool.
It's fun, and it makes sense, and so even for that mo'olelo meheanu, she's the kia'i, but it's like all our organizations and from uka to kai, how we are kuleana to the vai, because it'll all end up at the fish pond feeding our pua, feeding our baby fish. So we can, it's everything that's birthed here at the pond.
Right.
So, yeah, always love this because the kids are into it,
Totally.
Right on TikToks. I'm just like, all these kids are TikToking everywhere.
Yeah.
I learned a couple dances, but
yeah. My sister-in-law in New Zealand is constantly TikToking. I'm like, wow, it's all ages, all ages.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because I go on TikTok and it's totally like I'm guilty. Like I go down the wormhole of TikTok.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the right amount of information for students to connect to. It's not too much, not too little.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. And then for educational stuff, it's physical, it's visual. It makes a lot of sense
Like
to
kinda
make
like
them remember.
you hook
And I love the
hook
use of
them.
colors. Yeah,
Yeah.
to hook them.
Just
The
hook
use of colors and changing color and the graphics are,
Yeah.
that's what the kids are all about right now. And we need something more than just a Zoom, unfortunately. Definitely need more than Zoom. So it's exciting that the kids are coming back. Another thing that I heard you say in your introduction is that Ohana come to your Aina to do what? What do they come and do?
Yeah, so we have a Ohana Lo'i adoption program, or OLA. And so we've had it for some time, and families have come and gone. But during the pandemic, there was a lot of Ohana that were interested in bringing their families down because they had nowhere else to go. And many of our families that come down are from Koʻolaupoko. So we have right now about 15 lo'i that are dedicated to our ohanas. Each lo'i has about 2 to 3 ohana, like their ohana bubble. And you can either use it for, so what other ohanas have done in the past, if they're prepping for a paina party, they would come and ask to malama lo'i, plant one time and then huki one time and then give back the lo'i.
Yeah.
But a lot of our ohanas now are planting a row at a time, and then harvesting a row each month. So just in these past couple months, our ohanas have been harvesting for the first time their own kalo, their own luau, and then helping one another. Yeah. So there's about, in each row, there's about 5 lo'i, and they all rely on each other to malama their water. And so it's kind of like, kind of a micro of what an ahupuaʻa system would be, in talking with your neighbors, communicating what has to be done, or who has enough water, who doesn't, and trying to care for that relationship.
Yeah, I think that's so awesome.
Yeah, and a lot of them haven't planted before. So it's nice, like, you can make your mistakes and celebrate your wins with one another, share food. The keiki ends up becoming a big bubble of safe space.
Yeah, what a perfect thing to be able to do during the pandemic. When we were all under quarantine, we needed to get outside. We needed our kids to get away from technology. And we need to.
And it was nice too, because I was a preschool teacher for a long time. And a lot of the ohanas that came were, my ohanas or my keiki from when they were in preschool, and now they're like entering high school.
Oi.
So it's been nice to reconnect. But connect Koʻolaupoko and Heʻeia.
Yeah.
Really definitely. trying to malama our families in this space. Not so much go outside. Because before the pandemic, we take groups. I mean, we still do take groups from everywhere. But it's a nicer focus to just focus on Heʻeia and Koʻolaupoko.
Yeah.
Because that's where the training begins, We're learning that, I mean, we've known this, not everybody wants to be a farmer. Not everybody wants to malama Aina, or, like, think of it as a career.
Right.
There's so much to it. You can do anything in malama Aina, in that malama Aina track. It's just you dream it up and do it.
Yeah.
And so, but part of it is like, we gotta hook our kids into wanting to do that.
For sure.
And so, when you bring groups in, because like today we had our keiki come, and you gotta make it fun, right? It's not just pulling weeds or hey, like, I mean, play mud a little bit, and then if we power, then we can go enjoy the kahawai. We can go rinse off and like look at fish around here, and then you can holo, but we got to take care of our work first.
Yeah.
And then when they realize that, they're like, wait, we get to, we get to go in the river. And I'm like, yeah, that's where we rinse off. Like, and then eat lunch and then get back to it. So,
Yeah.
when it becomes that, like, then we fall in love with the job.
Yes.
It's like,
we create farmers.
yeah. Kind of like that honor, right? So then they can always reference back, like, oh, what's that thing that made me feel good when I was young? And then kind of like that movie Ratatouille, when he eats the ratatouille and then he like is taking like, that memory of his mother. It's like the same thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Super nice.
It's interesting because this morning I was talking to Aina, filmmaker, and he was saying he really, as a Hawaiian, had a hard time finding his place to belong. And for him, he wasn't a farmer, he wasn't a hula dancer, he wasn't, a singer or anything that you connect, to your culture that he thought you had to do in order to connect to his culture, to himself as a Hawaiian. But he found that he could connect, or his place of belonging as a Hawaiian was as a filmmaker. So everybody has their own kind of place that they think that they can connect to their identity. And for him, it was film. So you are creating or connecting or enabling people to connect to their connection to Aina. And that too is another way to find that place that you belong as a Hawaiian or as a human, finding that passion. We try and find that for all our students or all our children or our Ohana. Can you do me a favor and unshare your screen? Oh, unless there's any more that you want to share. One other question that actually, everybody that's here, does anybody have questions for Kahiau before I ask a question? I want to be able to. Hi, Jasmine. Hi. Even though it says Joel still. Did you have any questions for Kahiau or anything that happens there on the Aina she was talking about?
No, I'm just here to see what resources there are out there. Like I live on the continent, and as somebody who really hopes to be able to travel more frequently, I want to be the most responsible. I don't want to be a consumer. I want to be a contributor. And so, these opportunities to are really valuable. Thank you.
So you want to find out ways to be a contributor as opposed to a consumer when you travel to the islands? Is that what you're?
When I travel, and, the past year, I've just become more and more vocal about my perspective as, somebody who is Hapa and has never lived in Hawaii. And what I'm now realizing is because, I'm reposting certain things on Instagram, like I have friends who are coming to me saying like, when is it okay for me to travel there? And what can I do to make sure that I'm not taking advantage? How can I be respectful? And so it's not just like me and my immediate family. It's, my larger community that I'm hoping I can, elevate voices that people otherwise wouldn't hear.
That's contributing.
Yeah. I think what happened too is when the lockdown happened, I mean, there was, there was the good and bad, right, with the whole COVID. For us, it was a nice time to reconnect with our own staff. And I do malama the education piece at our space, but my background is, malama Aina, and we come from Ohana of taro farmers. So it was nice to reconnect again, just in our space, with our space, just with our small circles. And then, I mean, even with locals though, like noticing that it's like, and everybody went wild once like everyone could leave their hale, or or like be out again. And that's everyone, not just tourists, but like also our own Ohana here. It's like everybody just lost it and didn't know how to act when they came back out. And then it mellowed out again. And now that we have more people visiting again, I think it's just sharing to be responsible people, and we talked about it today in my last meeting, but self-awareness, just like, how would you treat your own home? you know,
Mhm.
like your own hale, your own personal home. And when somebody's coming over, like, you know, what's your expectations of them in your home? And just kind of sharing that, because, you know, sometimes we just forget and we wanna holo holo and we wanna explore. But we should always be mindful of, yeah, you know, if somebody was in my house, would I expect them to just go look upstairs in my room? Like, probably not, you know, like, you know,
Yeah.
the bathroom on, you know, there's, you know, in our home we get the bathroom you use, and then you get my room bathroom. Like, would I appreciate someone I don't know just walking into my hale like that? And then sharing that, and a lot of times people just don't know, you know, and um, as people who care for different spaces, Aina spaces, you know, there was a time when we were very hostile. Like, you know, my Ohana, we malama Aina and Kahana, and you know, it gets tiring sometimes because it's every day, every weekend. So, you know, yeah, sometimes I slip up and I'm like, get the hell out. But then I didn't really do my part in sharing with them um, about the space or how they can be a kiaʻi too, because that's something we all need kokua with, is that we need more eyes, ears, hands around spaces so everyone can help kiaʻi. And not just kiaʻi Hawaii, right? It's kiaʻi the world. We only have one mama honua, and so we all got to do our part in caring for her as a whole, not just pieces of her. So yeah, even just talking story with your ohana and your friends, and just a reminder, because I mean, we even need reminders. You know, everyone needs reminders, but how would we care for our home, you know, our living spaces?
Yeah. Those are really good points. I think for a long time, it was either come share with us or no, don't share with us. I think with what happened up at Mauna Kea, we realized that there is another way, a third way. Enjoy, have people come and enjoy, but be conscientious and mindful at the same time. Very important. Yeah, I think also with social media, thinking about how you share things on social media, instead of sharing confrontation, share examples of shared work towards the Aina. And there's a lot that you can share that encourages the sharing and how to do it less from a you should do it this way stance, but look how we can do these things together. And you can really influence a lot in what you share on social media. And I think it's really, really important, especially if you're not in the Aina. Yeah, offer perspective, the other
Really,
perspective.
that's all we can do. And you know, because, well, I mean, we're all adults, and I mean, even when we were keiki, if someone told you to do something a certain way,
Yeah.
I know me.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, like, you know, even though I know maybe I should, but just to test it out, and because you told me that,
Yeah.
I'm gonna do it another way. But you know, if we just share with one another, no judgment, you know, just share.
Yeah.
It yeah, it goes farther. It spreads farther than being dictative.
Yes, for sure. How about you, Deborah? Did you have any comments or questions for Kahiau?
No, because I came late.
It's okay. It's okay to be late. You still might have questions.
It's great listening to all of this because, you know, I'm on the continent. And so at least being able to listen is better than nothing right now.
I agree. I think being able to listen and see what's happening back at home is something that keeps us connected. Yeah. If you're not here in Hawaii.
And even on the continent, though, you know, that's still home.
That's true.
That's still ʻŌiwi spaces. There's so many mo'olelo, you know, to those spaces, things you can grow, like all the people, like plant people, fish people, trees people that are native to your space there. There's so many mo'olelo, and it still connects. I think sometimes we, you know,
forget?
And it's not just blood, like, you know, it's not, but it's definitely a way of thinking, you know, it's your connection. And, you know, I love home so much, but you know, the connection to land, water, you know, all those elements doesn't change if I go somewhere else. Like I can still recognize those same manafo things in those spaces. Maybe they're called by different names and that we can learn, but I can still feel them present. And I know them by my names, you know, like the names that we know. So we went to Japan and my cousin and I last year, and it was beautiful to be there. And when we went, it was just like, wow, we were in Kyoto, and it was like, wow, I can really feel Kane, you know, Kane Hekilis in the space, probably because it was stormy, you know, but those same elements that hug us and take care of us at home are the same elements that hug and take care of people around the world. I mean,
Right.
our kupuna already tell us like it's one big, you know, we're one big world, you know, the being Kanaka is just being appreciative of all those things and moving in the same way in all those spaces. So yeah, even if you're on the continent, I mean, your connection is to your space, right? Your connection is, I mean, you know, it's not the same, right? If you bring like a Hawaiian plant there, because that's not where it grew. But celebrate.
Yeah, mine's not living well.
Right. So celebrate the plants that do grow there. Celebrate the native things that once flourished in that space and makes that area unique. And keep that mo'olelo as well. You know, I mean, that's your connectivity to that Aina. I mean, it's the same, and it's the same, you know, love for the land, the same aloha Aina, the same malama Aina. And it's the same, I mean, I always refer to our planet as Mama Honua, but it's the same Mama Honua like everywhere we go. She's this one big thing just with all kind happening.
Yeah. Very good point. Definitely. When I went to New Zealand and I kept trying to order ahi and aku, I was surprised that they don't call it ahi and aku there. It's funny how you take what you know from your home and you take it other places and you expect it to be the same. That was my naivete at the time. I just thought that was the fish's name, ahi and aku, but you're right, we celebrate what's there and you can feel it too. Especially when I travel in the Pacific, you can feel that connection even stronger. And as my students know that why that is, we learned everything is all connected. Yeah. So I really think that that connection to Aina is something that is just a human condition. And it's just whether you are ma'a to it or connecting to it loud enough so that you can actually hear it and take it with you, which is really important.
When for us at the farm too, I mean, one thing we share often, you know, is just, I mean, the necessity of Aina. But you know, Aina is not, you know, we all need Aina. Basic human existence is food and water.
Right.
You know, and then from all of those things come shelter and stuff like that. But you know, Aina don't care what you look like. Aina doesn't care where you come from, what you did in the past, what you're doing today, your race, your ethnicity, it doesn't really matter. Like we all need water and we all need food. So we all gotta help each other. Is pretty much the base, you know, and so we share that a lot at the farm. Because loving land isn't, like Hawaiians, not only Hawaiians win aloha Aina. Not only in Hawaii do we do these things. Not only, you know, there's so many examples worldwide. It's just, you know, as we, you know, just it's a human condition, right?
Right.
We're getting better, and then we're like, a little bit going backwards, but okay. Just reconnecting with all our spaces.
Have you found that we can't even say post-pandemic. We're still in a pandemic. We think we're not, but we are, because we're still wearing masks.
Yeah, no, we're moving backwards up here.
Yes, from what I've heard, you guys are, and that's
We're probably gonna.
concerning. Yeah, I mean that too is a human condition. Like you said, we were cooped up for a year, and then we got a little bit of an inkling with vaccine, okay, Paul. But we're not. But I wondered that a lot happened in 2020, and psychologically, for people that were inside. And we talked a little bit about this before we started today, how we needed to get outside. And I wonder if there has been a change in the way we think about outside post 2020 than, in 2019. I wonder, and I feel that there might be more appreciation for things natural, for things that are not in the house, and not materialistic. Have you seen, or do you feel in those that you work with that come to the Aina, that there has been a little bit of philosophy change, or even any of you that are here today, what your thoughts are in regards to connecting to outside?
I think people do appreciate it more, having the opportunity to be outdoors. The hard thing is like social media, right? It's like take the picture for the gram. Like I went here. What the drive isn't to like, let me go experience the space and malama it. It's like, let's catch this photo op and take a picture and then tag the space. Like I've been here. But I think it's really like, it's half and half. There's a lot of people, and a lot of families have really grown, like understanding that your keiki needs open space, understanding that those spaces, and I think a lot of parents learned more about their children in having them in open space. So even today, like one of my favorite things is having keiki in the lo'i, and they're always, they're kind of rowdy for like the first 15 minutes, and then they sit and they start to concentrate on like whether it's pulling weeds. Today was like, kid, we have to soften the mud. And the second lo'i I took them in was hard. It was cracked. So I was like, okay, we're gonna figure this out. But you let them run around for a little while, and then their little feet make a little puka, and then the water starts to run in there, and they're like, oh, how do I move that water more down? And then next thing you know, they have like this whole little mud empire of waterways and water movement. And so I think a lot of Ohana and Kumu, but yeah, I think it's like, there's a little of the two. Some people appreciate it just for recreation. Some are building pilina to care. And yeah, I mean, but even recreation is a start. Just hopefully it's not just for social media purposes to,
Right.
I live in Kahana, and so lately it's like I want a paintball gun and shoot the person I see. But it's, like, okay.
Kahana is the most beautiful place, and the place I love to go because it just immediately relaxes me, and calms everything in me, because it feels like a big hug when just driving through, because we went to a funeral the other day in Laie. So we went through and I went just in that little curve. And so there's something very, very special about Kahana. But I can imagine when we have those who just want to play and don't realize sometimes that things are needing to have malama as well. Mm-hmm. I can tell, Kahiau, that you're an amazing educator just because you speak the way you speak about children. And you said you were a preschool, yeah, teacher for a long time. So you can really see how children's minds work. And I think you also pointed out that during the 2020, that I think parents and children connected so much. Mm-hmm. And I think parents, because for a long, long time, in fact, probably my whole life, there were parents who sent their kids to school and did their things because they're trying to pay the bills.
Right.
That was life. Life dictated that. Now life dictated during 2020 that you don't send your kids to school. You are with them all the time. And so you have no other option but to connect to them and to see what they need. So I just know transformation took place in some families, in fact, all families in various ways, good and bad. When you constrain a family, sometimes it's just too much. But the role of Aina, I think, is such a prominent way to keep health within a family. And I'm so pleased to hear. That's why I kind of honed in on the at Kāko'o Ōiwi, how Ohana can actually have their own lo'i. I just think that that's magnificent that that can happen, because you do get to see that whole connection.
And there's many Ohana that can't commit to a lo'i, but still welcome, you know, bring your keiki out, come to your Ohana. You don't need a whole lo'i. We always welcome the help, and still be able to get a little bit, like, you know, from our space. And so even the name, you know, Kāko'o Ōiwi, to support things that are indigenous to this space. For us, it's being supportive of all these things here, supportive of our community, supportive of growth, you know, whether it's like, you know, spiritual, physical, mental, but being a ko'o, a support to our ohana Aina, just, you know, and wanting to spark that little, you know, spark a little light in everyone, and we do it the way we can.
Yeah.
I think sometimes people shy away from it, you know, like, because they maybe can't commit to a certain thing, but, you know, it's just as easy as, hey, pass, you know, something flying, I'm gonna pick it up and put it in trash can. I mean, to me, that's kind of commitment, because if you pass it by, you know, it just builds up. But something as little as that, be mindful of like your own trash, be mindful of how we walk. I mean, and it's even be mindful of how we talk to one another, right? Because if we're like scolding each other, or, you know, just having so many expectations of other human beings, doesn't really make you wanna be productive, or, you know, like, be part of that space. So for us, it's definitely how to uplift and how to support.
Great.
And so I mahalo this job, you know. Trying to figure out, there was a time when I was like, oh, okay, I'm just gonna sub. After I left Punana Leo, I was like, okay, I'm gonna, you know, subbing sounds nice. I can put in papers for like Kauai, Hawaii Island, and here, and I just can like travel and be a sub. Then I realized that's not really a career.
How is that career?
I mean, it is. It could be, but like,
and you wanted something to connect to.
Well, and just by chance, you know, a friend asked for help. He was actually the education coordinator at Kāko'o at the time, and he was like, sis, I need help. So I went over, and then he's like, I need, you know, I kind of need a partner. And I was like, oh, okay. And then I got the job, and then 3 days later, he's like, actually, I'm gonna go work for Ohe. I was like,
congratulations, you have the job.
Yeah, I got the job. And I'm mahalo because we still work together. We work.
That's awesome. Can you think of a way that WCC can help with things that Kāko'o Ōiwi, my mouth just doesn't want to do that today. I don't know why. What we can help from afar. You know, we're kind of all teaching at home, and as instructors, faculty, and students. We have this new Hawaii Loa program, which is the Hawaiian Studies AA in all distance learning. And both of these students that are here today are in that program, I think. Yeah, they are. And that's why they're on the continent. And so we have a lot of new interest from many, many either Hawaiians that moved away or Hawaiians that are children of parents that moved away. And so there's potential for ways to connect to all of those students, but also us as WCC faculty how we can connect with you guys to help. So can you think of ways that we can make that happen for you?
Oh, I don't even know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't
Think about that.
Buy our produce if you're here on island.
That's a good one.
Order from Kāko'o, follow us. You know what I think is really cool though, with this Hawaiian Studies program and you know, like Hawaiian Studies abroad. What's awesome for Kanaka that are not living at home is that you can now research, like, you know, same akua mo'olelo, you know, like what is, like wherever you live, what would be the equivalent of haumea in your space? Or who is the kane, kanaloa, ku and lono in your space? You know, like what are the practices there, traditional practices in your space, you know, and how was it done, and how does that relate to Kanaka? Because we have a very big pilina to the world. There's so many mo'olelo that celebrate our kupuna just traveling and I mean just going around the world, right? And they weren't afraid to. They didn't hold back, and they also didn't go to these places and was like, no, you're not Hawaiian, you know, but they took their skills as Kanaka and then, you know, taught it around the world.
That's true.
But it's kind of an awesome thing to be in a Hawaiian Studies program, but also come from somewhere else and being able to make that connection, you know, to your own space. And see like what mo'olelo are similar. Yeah. For me, that's the Kāko'o part, right? That's the Kāko'o Ōiwi part, right? Of what we do in our space. How can you Kāko'o Ōiwi in your space?
Yeah, I like that. I want to build on that because I think that's a really, I teach both Hawaiian studies and also Hawaiian studies, but Hawaiian mythology and then film and literature as well for Hawaiian and Indigenous. My background is a lot of Pacific as well, and film and filmmaking. And I love the idea of connecting that, as you just said, connecting to your place and not, you know, thinking many times when you live away, you think that you kind of idolize your home, which is normal, totally normal. But sometimes it's so idolizing that you don't pay attention to the place you're standing. And
which you know is a you know, sometimes you're just ignorant to it and we don't know, but then, you know, in that sense too, it's a disrespect to that.
Yeah.
And the kupuna who are from there, and we know in our kupuna that travel the world, it's like, you know, when in Rome, right, do as Rome does. So it's like, you know, our kupuna traveled the world and was able to move about, and they learned things, they took it with them,
and they brought it home too. A lot
they
of
brought it home.
Yeah.
So it's like, you know, how to move in that space too, but being, you know, celebrating the kupuna that you are now in the space and calling your home now, you know, is still to me a connect to being Hawaii.
Yeah.
You know, getting to know that Aina, celebrating the people, and what are the mo'olelo? Like what happened there? What you know, like what makes Hawaii special to us too is, you know, a lot of the wahipana, they all have their own names, but they all have a mo'olelo, you know, like and so what are the names of your space, and who are the akua that we celebrated there, who are the kupuna, you know, and that's a, you know, in itself is Kāko'o Ōiwi, you know.
For sure. I love that. That's great. Anybody have any questions, comments? We've talked about some amazing things, new ways of looking at things that we thought we only could look at one way. We've now kind of skipped around like this in a circle with the various viewpoints that you can look at certain things, which is great.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to say that I really appreciate the perspective that you've brought, because it finally put into words something that has been kind of like brewing in me since I started the Hawaii Loa program, where like I know that it's not all about like, I got to get back to Hawaii. I got to like, see all the things that I missed out on. And I started researching like ways to contribute while I'm there, places to volunteer. And it just kind of like smacked me across the face a couple weeks ago, like, why am I not doing that in my home?
Hmm.
And my husband and I have thought about, trying to move there one day. And like, if we did, we would love to, grow our own food. And I was like, well, we have a yard here. And so now, we've planted a garden and we've got like, all kinds of things that are, we live in California. So we're very lucky to be able to do all kinds of stuff in our yard. All of the resources, like I've recommended a couple places to volunteer for friends who planned a vacation in Oʻahu. And I was like, well, why don't I tell my friends to come volunteer? Like, why don't we find a place to volunteer in our hometown? There are people who need everywhere. There's land to be used everywhere. And so it's helps me connect with a self that I didn't know in a place that I don't know, but it's also helping me be more rooted where I am now.
There you go.
Yeah. Sometimes we do get caught up in thinking that there's a perfection, the grass is always greener kind of philosophy. The if only world. I seem to live a lot in the future as well sometimes. And I have to remember that. And so, yeah, I think our conversation
right. It's just mahalo your space. Because I mean, like, the grass is always greener on the windward side. Why don't I can grow some really good food? So it's like,
yeah,
it's like, just celebrate your space. I think too, like in California, like even learning what are like some native and endemic plants of those spaces, because I think even in those spaces, they've just, so much people, so much changes on that continent that, it's like, it's almost like, Walmart. I mean, actually, I don't know because I don't actually travel that much, but like what are like native and endemic things that are in your space? Are they still around? Like, I think that's something we talk about in Hawaii a lot because so much things became endangered. So like what's endangered there, that needs attention and love too. Sometimes, yeah. I mean, Aina isn't no different than, I mean, yes, we are very blessed to live in this pai Aina, but, why are we going to do that? Why is one Aina better than the other Aina?
Right. Yeah.
They gave us this, especially, in all our spaces.
Yeah. How about you, Deborah? Do you have any comments?
No, when she said one Aina is better than the other, I'm like, I still have patches of snow outside. So right now, one Aina is definitely better than the other.
Yes, but what did the indigenous people plant in the snow?
And you know what? Like you said, that it's opened my eyes. I need to actually look into this because I haven't. I've kind of been, tuck my head in and go, oh, I don't really want to, but I should. I need to. So if I want to learn more about, about where I came from, I need to learn more about where I'm at.
Yeah, very good. I like that philosophy. That's a good philosophy.
And then even while you're there, I mean, us too, like, it rains a lot. It rains a lot here in Ko'olau. And during the winter time, I'm just like, oh boy, just anticipating flood. Right, I live in Kahana. I mean, a few weeks ago when we flooded out, like, well, I mean, Waikana is always flooding. I didn't go to work for the whole week, which was I was fine with, but that also makes me think of like, great, our seasons, like our kupuna had makahiki, and so we should celebrate that. Like, why are we trying to travel everywhere and fight with the elements? They're like, stay home and malama your house. Like, get your house in order. Do those things,
We just need to be more connected to what's around us, and some disconnect has.
But I mean, and at the same time, we've shifted our Aina so much that, I mean, these past few years, it's like kind of our seasons are different. Like the rains came late this year. now it's getting cold but it's sunshine, it's like so much shifting, and
Yes.
trying to understand, like, okay, is this the new normal?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm not complaining. We had very little snow this year.
Nice.
That's good. All right. Well, I think that we've had a fabulous discussion. Even though we have a small group, we had a wonderful discussion that really looked at various things from different perspectives. And I think talking about Aina, talking about Hawaiian culture, talking about place, all are so important, but it is also important to think about, as Kahiau said, looking at it from where you stand and that connection to where you are. So I think we all kind of put it in a very nice nutshell, even though the conversation wasn't specifically to one place, we actually brought it much larger to Mama Honua. And I love that. I totally love it. I thank you, Kahiau, for your time. I thank you for coming and talking story and thinking outside the box in how we look at place. So I want to thank all of you for coming today, taking the time out of the time zone. I don't know what time it is where you guys are, but thank you for taking the time today to come and join us. And remember, oh, I can't show you my slide, darn. Well, actually I can. Why don't we end it on the slide that shows all the times. Hey, how come I can't change it? Oh, so this series will continue. We're going to take a summer break, and then we'll be back in September with Fred Rapoon.
Yay!
Yeah, so he's going to be joining us on the second Friday of September. He's our first person. So join us if you can in September, and we'll continue our wonderful Talk Story series, maybe with a different color next fall. I don't know. But thank you, Kahiau. Thank all of you for coming today. Ahuiho, malamokono.
Mahalo.
Bye.